Welcome. You might be asking, why is there a DJ in the main screen? Well, the key piece is, this is your own journey. You can pick what songs, how you want to go architect the solutions. This is David Peerless, Accenture's Chief Technology Officer, and we're excited to be able to talk to you about consuming the cloud with a composable architecture using SAP BTP. And with me today are Steve Delian and Michaeline Schechter.
Thank you, David. So hello and welcome, everybody. A warm welcome from my side. My name is Steve Delian, and I'm Accenture's SAP Business Group's Chief Technology Architect. Over to you, Michaeline.
Thanks, both. Hi, everyone. My name is Michaeline Schechter, and I'm part of Accenture's internal global IT organization, where I'm the SAP Platform Architect, and I manage the product and capability strategy that supports finance technology.
Before we start, really the definition of composability is key to understand and make sure that we're all on the same page. So it's about unlocking value faster with new architecture and methods, with pre-built interoperability between solutions in the cloud and even on-premise. How do we extend the digital core with business applications and emerging technology and leverage processes and standardizations to bring one version of the enterprise truth? It's about being adaptable, scalable, and composable. And what we've noticed over the past few years is that transformations that were taking years are now being asked to be delivered in 18 to 24 months. Organizations are being asked to keep pace with changing customer demands, supply chains, economic uncertainty, and the rapid pace of the technology changes. According to our study, 77% of executives state that their technology architecture is becoming critical to their overall success of the organization. So what's been going on? Application proliferation. With our studies, the increase of applications has increased by 53 times over the past decade. There are over 1,000 proprietary apps at majority of organizations. How do we keep all of this on track? How do we make sure that we've got everything ready to go? Only a fourth of enterprises have focused on interoperability 5 years ago. That number has to increase, and it has increased to 2/3 saying that they're going to focus on it in just the past 2 years. But what's key to this is the data. How do we make sure that the information and all of the data that every organization has is able to be used to create insights and gain valuable knowledge of what you have? So composability will help to accelerate our clients' path to value. But as you can see here in the picture, the value that you get today from data is very different to the potential that you can then achieve. It's that value gap of how do you use composability and how do you use SAP BTP to bring it all together. Our research shows that modern digital cores, those organizations that have it, are outperforming their peers by factors, and also 2 to 3 times in terms of revenue growth. This is a critical key outcome that all of our clients need to be focused on and stuff that we are helping with today. Now, if we go to SAP, how does this help with the continuous pace of innovation? A key message that I want everyone to take away is to understand that the pace of change can happen dramatically different than it has in the past. You can now do things in parallel versus being able to having to do it sequentially. We'll hear examples of how you can go use BTP to speed up your transformations, how you can do things together or even on your on-premise before you move to S4, how we can shorten the timelines with what you have, how you can use different tools and technologies, be it microservices, APIs, and different BTP tools to bring along yourselves, your clients, and even your customers on the journey that you have. One of the key pieces, as we look at the consumable SAP architecture, is how we think about it. So let's focus on the bottom left, the digital enterprise. At Accenture, we think of it as customer, finance, HR, and supply chain. Now, we can have a long discussion about does everything fall into those buckets, but if not, it goes to the connected enabled solutions, the top, which is in orange. And you use the innovation marketplace, which is delivered by SAP Business Technology Platform, the hyperscalers, and other solutions that you might already have. And it's how do we take advantage of all of those solutions together to bring about differentiation? Now, none of that's possible without the data fabric. We've seen earlier in our slides, we had the picture of the difference between what the value you get today versus the value you get tomorrow. It's how do you move that information, be it with integration, streaming, event hubs, and API, and how do you make sure it's secured, the right people have access, the right information's moving at the right points in time, and you know what your source of truth is. The data fabric brings it all together. Now, what the team will talk about shortly is multiple different examples of BTP, how we brought it to life at different clients, and the value that we gained. It's key to remember, you can do multiple things now in parallel, and your ability to do the pace of change is at an even faster pace than ever before.
So now that David kind of painted the picture on the composable architecture and drew our attention particularly also to the need for a common data foundation, let's have a look at two practical client examples, and then Micheline will help us look at an internal Accenture business value case and Accenture CIO case. But first we focus on two client use cases. So the first use case is, let's say, called digital business transformation, leveraging the network of networks. And I'll go through client and project context, business problem, how we solved it using BTP, what that led to as business value, and what the key gains were for the client. So looking at this case, this was basically a global IT equipment manufacturer. I can't disclose the name, but it's definitely a client or a company from which every company or every home office across the world has at least one piece of equipment. And the project itself was an 8-month business transformation using BTP technologies to improve supply chain visibility and supply chain planning. And you hear me talk about this project in the past tense, so that kind of indicates that the project is live in the meantime. If we then move on to the business problem that we were solving for, there were basically 4 pain points. The first is, you can imagine that building a piece of IT equipment requires a vast number of suppliers delivering all kinds of parts to assemble and produce the effective equipment. And the client has that vast number of suppliers, but also had low visibility across the supplier landscape. Secondly, across the 7 business units that the client has, there was no standard supply chain processes established. Third element, and that is very particular to this IT equipment manufacturing industry, is also the fact that the production of the effective equipment is outsourced across dozens of third-party factories. And that really led to a situation where there was a complete inability to see product volumes, and the client was facing low data quality for supply chain planning. Now, how did we solve this using BTP? First of all, we built a common integration layer with a common data format and protocol across the factories. We then persisted the data on SAP HANA Cloud, against which we would run and have built thousands of data validation and improvement checks. We then built a BTP application on top of that, serving up that data to the supply chain planner so that it could finally correct that data. And practical examples are, for example, checking whether a bill of materials was containing the correct parts, have the correct part numbers been assigned, have the correct volumes been set, and those types of things. And then from there, the corrected materials and bill of materials is pushed back to integrated business planning, where the effective supply chain planning takes place. And once that is completed, it is pushed into the supplier network using Ariba. What did this lead to? It improved visibility to product supply with higher accuracy. It's increased the ability to assess product supply down to the SKU level, and in general aligned the business planning better with the business objectives, leading to 2 main benefits: an improved digital supply chain collaboration and a delivered strategic component demand and supply chain matching. If we move on to the next case, this is all about creating actionable insights for disparate backends. So again, starting with the client and project background, the client is a global metal mining company, and the project is actually an ongoing 21-month deployment for a BTP-based data lake and analytics solution. We're now at, let's say, we still have 3 to 6 months to go. So I'll give you a highlight when we talk about the BTP solution, what we have delivered so far and what is still to come. But first, looking at the business problem. So this is a client with multiple business units with decentralized operations, and that's not that uncommon. But what makes this case a little bit special is that not only are there decentralized operations, but there are basically also an enormous number of enterprise applications, and you can basically put them more or less in 4 buckets. So there's a bucket of divisions or business units that has largely SAP, but then with a lot of custom application footprint next to that. There's a number of divisions that have Oracle, and then a number of custom applications next to that. Then there are the divisions that have only custom, and then there are divisions that have a combination of the 3 previous ones. Long story short, you can imagine that then one of the biggest business problems was we have no unified data model, we have no visibility across business units, and that the actual reporting in that case is really time consuming and error prone to consolidate insights and generate KPIs. Moving on to the BTP solution, what have we put in place? We put in place HANA Cloud as the data lake and query layer. And at the moment, we're mainly using the HANA storage layer, not the data lake or object store, but we chose HANA Cloud exactly for the reason of that scalability. We're ingesting data with data services. We're adding machine learning simulations using data intelligence, and we top it off with an SAP Analytics Cloud frontend as the analytical reporting layer. Now, coming back to the fact that this is an ongoing project, what have we done so far and what do we have ahead of us? Currently, we deployed 25 dashboards for inventory and supply chain and brought 4 business units on board. So what is more to come is more dashboards, more metrics, more KPIs, and onboarding the remaining business units. Now, what did this lead to? First of all, there is a much better integrated visibility of inventory data. The client can optimize inventory levels. There's an improved cost allocation accuracy for accounting, so we even improved accounting. And there's now finally the ability to do integrated material demands planning, leading to 2 main benefits. And for me, they really bring to life that data foundation that David was talking about. First of all, they have a single version of the truth with standardized data and improved data quality. But moreover, or further than that, there's now a future-proof solution in place that really decouples the analytics from the underlying application landscape, meaning that the client knows that with the landscape that I talked about, that they need to improve that landscape, but they can now do that decoupled from the solution and plug out applications, old applications, and plug in new applications. So that's what concerns, let's say, the 2 client cases, and I'll gladly hand the floor over to Micheline for the Accenture use case.
Thanks, Steve. Today, I'm excited to talk to all of you about how we have used composable architecture internally. At Accenture Global IT, our SAP strategy is based around 4 principles: stay current, stay secure, stay ahead, and one Accenture. Traditionally, we had to wait for stay current to bring a new SAP version and allow us to use new capabilities and enhancements. Now with composable apps, we can leapfrog to stay ahead and meet changing business needs with flexibility and agility. I'll start with cash application. At Accenture, we work with more than 7,000 clients in upwards of 120 countries, resulting in more than 600,000 annual invoices. Every morning when our global cash and collection specialists start their day, they check the latest bank statements loaded into SAP. This is where our problem statement came into play. Our rules-based configuration had an extremely low hit rate. Clients provided incomplete information or information in a field the system didn't expect. The amounts didn't match, maybe to grouping of an invoice or to withholding taxes and discounts. Even more frustrating for our team and our customers is that it resulted in us making collections calls when the payment had already been made, but not yet applied. We knew we needed a better way. We implemented SAP Cash Application that works as an add-on to our rules-based configuration. SAP Cash App is a BTP SaaS-based product that is plug and play and can be plugged into any ECC or S4 system. The cloud model is based on deep learning. Once historical data is sent through a series of jobs to train the model, you're off and running. A pilot to prod could take as little as 8 weeks. The algorithm matches invoices to the corresponding payment, and if it can't match the invoice to the payment, it brings back a proposal for the cash application specialist to review. If the specialist agrees with the proposal, they can post in 1 click. Otherwise, they can edit it and then post to accounting. With this solution, we almost doubled the automatic clearing hit rate. That's now at 54%. This part needs absolutely no human intervention. We just do a couple spot checks to review the AI-based match. Now, when the machine cannot directly find a match, it will bring back a proposal for the cash application specialist to review. This adds an additional 13% of one-click automation. When analyzing the time savings, we also saw an interesting pattern. Even when the proposal was incorrect, we were still saving time, as the AI proposal was usually very close to the correct invoice, in addition to becoming more efficient, more accurate, and faster. We lowered our unapplied cash balances, reduced the time it takes to apply cash during critical time periods like month end, quarter end, and year end, and prevented capital charges. We were also able to redirect resources to more value-added activities and not need to continuously grow the team as Accenture continues to grow. As amazing as our journey with Cash App has been, it doesn't stop here. Our team is looking to use BTP capabilities to fill in the spaces between S4 and Cash Application to create a zero-touch process. And I'm excited to see what they develop in the next few months. And Cash App isn't our only success story with composable apps. In 2020, we used SAP Analytics Cloud to develop an intelligent cash solution. This solution created innovative analytics models that use machine learning and artificial intelligence to forecast cash levels and make cash optimization recommendations. The model has a 90% accuracy in forecasting cash flow items, including taking into account sensitivity to the market and one-time events. And it has allowed our business to free up 20% of our cash flow. Building on the foundation with intelligent cash, we were also able to develop a real estate portfolio planning solution. It was far enough along that when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, our corporate real estate team was able to quickly and accurately perform many what-if scenarios around office closings and openings, and assess the amount of physical space available and needed, and then determine plans and next steps. And we haven't stopped there. Most recently, our team rolled out a pre-close commentary report. This AI-infused report was created based on a series of composable building blocks. First, they standardized the process and created an online digitized global pre-close report that gave users the ability to add commentary manually. In the next step, they used AI commentary to support 95% of the content. Now we're already looking at how we can apply this composable architecture of standardization and predictive commentary to meet additional business needs. BTP has given us the building blocks to stay ahead and continue to innovate with composable apps. I'll turn it back to David now to close us out.
You've just heard more than 3 examples of where BTP has been used, right? That it's allowed us to run faster, better, and cheaper, and help our clients to be more resilient, agile, accelerate the pace of transformation. They've been able to reinvent and rotate the focus of where their organization, is today and where they want to go tomorrow. Now, our call to action that we ask all of you to think about is to remember you control the pace of innovation, and in parallel, the ability to modernize your applications. It no longer has to be one or the other, and you have to make that critical choice. 2, you can transform faster and cheaper now while unlocking new value, as you heard from Michaeline and Steve on the examples. And 3, open new markets and new pathways for growth. Using SAP BTP allows you to think about your architecture and how you can be composable with SAP to make things different, to bring different innovations and different opportunities to your clients and your organizations. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to talking more about how BTP and a composable architecture can work for you.